out.
While Britain's relations with Europe floundered tragically, a very special relationship was in the air. Love, Ronnie and cruise missiles. But three rich kids who drank beer, belched loudly and fought for their right to party were about to threaten the transatlantic love affair.
Before the Beastie Boys came here in 1987, at the time, the state of pop in Britain was very, very bland indeed. 1987 was the year of Stock Aitken and Waterman. It's been a long time since punk, it had been a long time since two-tone, all of that. And things have got very dull. It was almost like a tinderbox. So it was ready to go off, and the Beastie Boys were the catalyst for it.
They were a fantastic pop band, and rap was just becoming popular, and they were one of the bands that took it into the mainstream. And I think any new music, when it goes into the mainstream, there's a reaction against it, and the Beastie Boys got a really serious reaction.
Reports of the Beasties being nasty to kids with cancer made front-page news and sent Fight for the Right to Party into the top 20.
It's 5-1 Friday afternoon here at Heathrow Airport, and the Beastie Boys are due to arrive from Amsterdam in just 5 minutes. All morning, news crews have been swarming around Terminal 4, no doubt fueled by headlines like this one in the morning's newspapers.
The MPs certainly got very hot on the collar about it. And the tabloids, you know, it was a slow news time when they came over to tour, so there was a complete hysteria where a refusal to give an autograph to one child who apparently had cancer was turned into them sort of laughing at a whole row of children with cancer, and the sort of normal hysteria that starts when things like that gather.
Today, the Beastie Boys, an American band calling itself the nastiest group in the world, arrived in London. They'd flown in from Europe, where apparently they daubed the walls of their hotel with human excrement, wrecked one bar, and in another ended up throwing beer at other customers.
I think it's a shame that you have to write articles and make up lies to sell your papers. It's really stupid.
I think they were quite shocked by the reaction of the press. I don't think anything in their experience had ever prepared them for it.
You gotta fight!
The Beasties pulled every trick in the publicity book. A 20-foot inflatable penis toured with their stage show, and leather-clad go-go dancers performed in cages.
One of the things that annoyed me about the Licence to Ill tour was the sexism. I mean, now, of course, compared to what we're used to seeing in videos, it wasn't that sexist at all, but they had girls dancing in cages, they had a big blow-up penis that they used on stage, and it was all very much taking the mickey out of the Rolling Stones tour in the early 70s. But still, I felt it was unnecessary, and I think a lot of girls who were really into rap felt the same.
Putting girls in cages on the stage and throwing beer at the audience, it's not exactly, you know, it's not unheard of. It had been done before. It just happened to happen at a time when things were getting very staid, and they came along and they shook it up, and they got a lot of press out of it, and they sold an awful lot of records and T-shirts, and I'm pretty sure that's what they set out to do.
In 1987, the BBC finally acted, banning the video from Top of the Pops on the grounds that it was too loutish. Censorship had made the Beastie Boys infamous.
The Beastie Boys weren't serious. They were actually three very nice, middle-class Jewish boys from New York. Their parents were, one was an architect, one was a playwright, and one was an interior designer. They were just well-to-do kids, and they were having a laugh. The whole thing about the Beastie Boys is they were sending up that whole frat boy, drinking, partying, jackass mentality. And we all took it seriously.
It was one of those things where the hype was wrong, as it generally is in these things. The hype and the banning is wrong. It's either because something's rubbish or because people don't get what it is. And I wish I'd ignored the hype of the Beastie Boys and got into them at the time and been more a part of it, because they're just brilliant. They're geniuses, I think.
With the Yanks packed back off to Brooklyn, Britain breathed a collective sigh of relief. But a new wave of civil unrest was imminent. This time, the verses were satanic.